Hi guys, don't know, not sure what happened there. I think I put the microphone in the wrong plug or whatever you call it, wrong socket or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, it's a nightmare because I tried to put the microphone on so that I could be more clear, and it ended up having the reverse effect. So I heard it back, and I got absolutely no sound. So that's a bit of a nightmare. 15 minutes wasted. So anyway, anywho, sorry. I was trying to talk about some of my goals for dyslexia awareness and empowerment, as I call it, next year, because I didn't quite get to put into practice my goals this year. So I'm hoping to plan next year to actually put more into practice. But anyway, I hope people can hear me clear enough. But so I thought I'd get onto the list. I hope someone out there will enjoy this. Anywho, for dyslexia awareness and empowerment, point number 1, I hope to bring together dyslexic organizations such as Made by Dyslexia, the Yale Center for Dyslexia and Creativity, Dyslexic Advantage, and all other possible dyslexia organizations that could work internationally to raise awareness about dyslexia, particularly in developing countries, if you like, and share ideas. And I hope to listen to them as well. Point number 2, I hope to listen to and learn from other dyslexic people and organizations, especially experts, about what they, and especially people who have organized events, to talk about what they think is practical and feasible and worth doing, and then the best steps to take. Like Dyslexic Advantage already hosted events in the US, so I hope they can help me and others to. I'll need a lot of help to organize these events. So I'm a bit gutted about my last video that I made, part 1 of this, the first one, before this take 2, because I'll say I spent 15 minutes talking about the ideas, and then I found that there was no sound. And luckily I looked back and I found there was no sound. Otherwise, I wouldn't have even noticed. So, and I don't think there's any way I could, because if the laptop didn't pick up any sound, then I don't know how it can. I don't think it can. I don't think I could. I tried to edit it, but obviously it didn't pick up my voice, then I'll just waste those 15 minutes. So that was a bit annoying, and I get annoyed quite easily about those things. But I'm going to try and move on anyway. So point number 2, I hope to listen to and learn from other dyslexic people and organisations and so forth. Number 3, I hope to. I talked about my idea for the MCAS, independent schools for people with learning disabilities, and how I think they make people more freer, whether they are disabled or not. Because I'm hoping, obviously, when you get the mainstream education or academia, basically, schools and all that, they've paid for it out of the budget. But I thought, because a lot of parents of people with learning disabilities apparently complain that the schools and the academic system is not fit for purpose for people with learning disabilities, I think it'd be good if parents or families or people with learning disabilities, basically, parents of learning disabled children mainly, or carers or guardians or whatever, could be exempt from that tax for the academic, for schooling for their kids, but they get to keep that tax money. And this would be like people choosing to invest in these schools. So only people who choose to would invest in them. But so like I would love to have a curriculum designed by people like Richard Branson, people like that. So that I think would be really cool. Like I think ironically it would be even better than mainstream schools, but it would also gear towards people with learning disabilities, our strengths, and gives more confidence before we work on other things. And then with that confidence, we can tackle some of our weaknesses as well, perhaps. Point number 4, what I call the 4. I talked about in some other videos where it's 4 groups, like all possible indigenous people from Africa, Australasia or Oceania, whichever you call it, the Americas, like Native Americans, Native Brazilians, and so forth, and Asia. I'd love to have conferences and events with those groups. I talked about Africa and Asia before and having conferences there, but conferences and events and so forth in Africa and Asia. But I think also maybe even indigenous people to learn from the Americas and Australasia to learn about, like Aborigines, Maoris, and people like that to learn about dyslexia, what dyslexia is, and how dyslexic people can perhaps help those communities, and also testing people in those communities to see how many might have learning disabilities as well. Because I don't know if any of those groups are tested for learning disabilities, but perhaps could be. And like the strengths, like creativity, that and thinking outside the box, different ideas that we could do to help those groups. Number 5, I hope to listen to dyslexic people's goals and like see how we can work on helping each other with our goals. And also, I talked about, as an Italian football fan and a fan of Celtic, I hope for Italians, for dyslexics to go to Parkhead, which is Celtic's home ground. Many people call it paradise, and to help Celtic and Italian football respectively to practice. So I hope to encourage dyslexics around the world to do that, and also for Italians to learn about positive sides of dyslexia, like including in sport, which many people say dyslexic people can be good at sport, and also how dyslexics can come up with innovative ideas and things like that. So hopefully my goal would be 1, to help Italian football, but also, and 2, to help dyslexic people, like kill 2 birds with 1 stone, so to speak. And so people in Italy would see a better light of, see dyslexic people in a better light. So though we might not be good academically, we can be good in other areas, and see that we can come up with skills and tactics that other people might not have thought about. And so I hope to encourage as many dyslexics as possible to do that. And all being well, according to my plans, it would be in Italy. And so also dyslexics in Italy themselves would be encouraged to come forward with their ideas, but also to help Italian football practice. Excuse me. But yeah, so dyslexic. So that Italy would see that dyslexics in Italy itself, especially, would be treated better, and also around the world. And also, if Italy does well from this, and Celtic does well, other clubs and other countries will come together and say, we'll see dyslexic people in a better light. But I still hope for dyslexics to pretty much main ones. I want to support is Italy and Celtic. In football, anyway. 6, I hope to help dyslexic people to achieve our full potential, to, like, a lot of dyslexic people are overrepresented in crime or unemployment or underemployment. I hope to find ways to help dyslexic people to see, to have more belief in themselves so that they can avoid crime, and try to be productive members of society. And maybe even, like, I'm thinking, there could be organisations which, as much crime as we cut, like for every pound we save the government, they could give us like 90p for every pound we save them. But so as much crime as we cut, they could give us that money, and that could be used to reinvest in dyslexic entrepreneurs and things like that. I hope that makes sense. Point number 7, I thought of a really quirky idea, which is like, may God bless dyslexics, especially all people with learning disabilities. But I hope God will bless everyone, but especially people with learning disabilities. So that's a quirky idea by my standards, but yeah, I thought I'd share that one anyway. 8, I hope to, like, I think prejudice or discrimination and hate and all that is based on something that's different to ourselves, disliking or even hating something that's different. So I think, like, if dyslexic people of different races or religions or backgrounds or ethnicities or whatever see that we have something in common, then hopefully we can treat each other better. I don't know if that will work, and maybe it's very idealistic, but if I can change one person, that'd be great. And yeah, just so yeah, so we see a common ground that we're dyslexic, so dyslexic people around the world to get on better. Hopefully, that's one of my dreams anyway. Point number 9 was how, in spite of the fact that dyslexia means difficulty with language, and it manifests itself, as I put it, generally through reading, writing, spelling, stuff like that. There are many dyslexic people who are good writers and publishers, like the late Stephen J. Cannell, who made the A-Team, who wrote the script for the A-Team anyway. Many others, Max Brooks. I'm just naming, I know I'm only naming a couple, but there are many, some of whose names I can't remember. but even if you Google it, there's so many you can find on YouTube and so forth. So the irony of dyslexic writers is a project I'd love to work on. And point 10 was, I also wanted to look at the definition of dyslexia, like difficulty with language. I think it's from Greek. Like dys means difficulty with, and lexia means language, languages and things like that. And we think in pictures instead of words, apparently. So that's one of the things why I think we're more sort of creative. A lot of people talk about the right and the left brain. So I hope to go through a lot of those sort of projects, especially in Africa, and talk about a lot of the, as well as weaknesses, also talk about strengths, save the best to last. But I mean, also there are weaknesses, so I hope to cover those as well, but also talk about the strengths, and with the right inspiration and encouragement, how good dyslexic people can achieve. 10, I think it would be a great project to support people with dyslexia in Africa and Asia, and the 4 as I talked about. And I'd love to see the irony, as I would put it, of dyslexic people doing well in the young dyslexic entrepreneurs, youngpreneurs, and all that with dyslexia across Asia and Africa and so forth, and even countries like Ireland, perhaps, and other. As an anti-imperialist, I especially hope to help countries that were colonized. So yeah, I talked about dyslexic people who have done well financially, like Richard Branson, who runs Virgin, John Chambers, Craig McCaw, Charles Schwab, and people like that, and talked about how a banker, I'll try and pronounce his name correctly, Gary Conn or something like that. I hope I pronounced his name right, but I'm not sure. Gary Conn or Con K-O-H-N. So anyway, pronunciation is not one of my strengths, but how Gary Conn worked in Wall Street, and like if people who work in banks dyslexic people who work in banks, or mentors generally, to teach young dyslexic people, including across Africa and Asia, about banking, and also around the world, but and like set up specifically in Africa, things that help dyslexic startups, dyslexic people to run their own businesses across Africa and Asia, possibly again in indigenous communities and so forth. Like the MK, I thought, because it's my own idea, I'd like to have some of the accreditation for it. I've talked about before, I'd give my money away, but most of my money anyway. But I'd just love to have the accreditation for it. In the past, I used to want to make lots of money, but now I want to give that money away. That's all I want to make it, but give it away. But anyway, so like the MKS to John Chambers, MKS John, like a dash, MKS dash John Chambers Center for educating dyslexic entrepreneurs, and there could be centers like that in Africa. I don't know what the exact name, it could be like a shorter name, but for supporting dyslexic entrepreneurs across Asia and Africa and places like Malaysia, India, Indonesia, and Singapore especially, working with dyslexia organizations there perhaps as well, and schools and so forth, but also like setting up their own institutions, like to train young dyslexic people in those places to become entrepreneurs all over Africa, all 54 countries of Africa, and also as many countries in Asia as possible. And maybe each school could help, say, 30 or whatever number of 10, 20 or 30 or even more dyslexic people to become entrepreneurs, or to at least learn about entrepreneurship. And in Africa specifically, I love to support technology. I talked about all my ideas to do with technology. Generally, I dream to support Africa in technology, and all my ideas, unless otherwise stated, would be support Africa in technology, and Italy, and of course Celtic, but especially Italy in football. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, so like I thought also like the Richard Branson School of Business, or the Virgin School, the Virgin Centre for Education in Enterprise centres for the young dyslexics in Africa. I don't know exactly the name, but we could think of some quirky name together, perhaps. I mean, not quirky. A really good name that is catchy and not too long, but something about entrepreneurship centres for dyslexics in Africa or something like that. But anyway, hopefully we can all agree on a name together and like vote upon it. Oh, another thing I forgot that I included in my video, that where the sound wasn't, where I accidentally put the microphone in the wrong place, so the sound wasn't working. So I hope the sound is working in this video, but otherwise I'll be gutted again. But yeah, I talked about. Damn it, I lost my train of thought again. Yeah, so I'd love to support the so like Richard Branson was talking about how it was like Virgin's a business. So web is the reason why he made the company Virgin. So I thought there could be centres like that across Asia and Africa for especially for the sex controversy. And John Chambers, because he was CEO of Cisco, which works on technology. I don't know what they do, but something to do with technology. So he could set up those centres and teach people about technology as well. But yeah, raising awareness and empowering dyslexic people. So yeah, those are some ideas. I really hope the sound worked this time, otherwise I'll be gutted. But yeah, I'd really appreciate any of your support or ideas or feedback or suggestions, like especially as dyslexic people, like which countries would you like to go to educate people about dyslexia, especially like countries where perhaps they don't know much about dyslexia, or would you love there to be conferences and events? Someone from India actually said they'd love to have conferences and events. They really want me to organise one there, but I'd really need a lot of help with organisation. So I hope some of these dyslexic organisations or dyslexic people who have some experience of organising things can really help me with this as well, because I need a lot of their advice and support. I'm going to try and remember what I was going to say in my next video, or ASAP. Peace enough. Anyway, PS, sorry. Any support would be really welcome. Thanks. Oh, if you could share this video with people with dyslexia especially, I really appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Peace enough.